Hi, I'm Steve Shelburne, owner and operator of Shelburne RV here in beautiful Cleveland, Tennessee. Well, good morning, welcome back. It's bright Monday morning. Got a few things we're going to work on this morning. I got a Laredo fifth wheel that cousin Gary's getting ready to pull in here that has got a bunch of stuff on a checklist that we got to look at. And then I have got a big coach with an Aqua Hot extended warranty that we're going to look at this morning. So we've got several things going on here at the shop this morning, so we'll get going. I got a little short-handed. I got a couple guys out today, so it's going to be a little tough today with short on help, but it is what it is. So we're going to get rolling this morning. Come on, let's go check things out. Okay, so we're working on this Laredo fifth wheel. Now that slide, it came in because it was not coming out. This side would not come out, but that side would. Now this is the one that has the electric actuator, and it is actually down on the far end down there. And then you can see the gears, the track right there. And then there's that gear pack right there. And that gear pack is actually attached via a piece of square tubing all the way down here. And as this actuator right here moves in and out, this pushes this one out, and then that gear that's missing right there actually transfers all the way down there, and that's what pulls that in and out. Now, part of the problem is this is hopping as it goes in and out. Now, one thing I want to show you guys, right here on either side of the slide, I'm gonna try to do this where you can see with the light. That is a wear plate. There's one there. There's actually one right there, and then there's one on the very top of this thing. Let's see, okay, you can see it right there. Now, if you look at that tubing, see how that tubing's bowed a little bit and there's a gap underneath that? That tubing should be square. So this thing has rose up and damaged this. Now, we're gonna put a new gear rack, a new gear assembly in that. We've actually pulled this out so we can give the customer a quote on that. But the other problem is this track is still not down far enough to allow the gear to interact here because that tube is pushed up. So what we'll actually do is come in here and cut these welds. We'll drive some 1/8 inch metal underneath that track all the way down there and then re-weld this. And that will allow that track to make good contact with that without having to replace this whole assembly, which would require the underpinning, me trying to find to order one of those. It's just gonna be a nightmare. But as you can see, this thing has not been lubed in forever. So gotta keep those slides lubed up. I got another problem with this I want to take you inside and show you. Okay, so one of the other problems was he brought this in for a floor issue. Now, I don't know if you can see that D-lam going on this back wall, but this is really, really bad. And the result of that, you can kind of see it right there. Let's go inside. I want to show you what's going on here because the result of that is what has happened in here with this floor. Brandon, show us this floor that's soft right here, guys. Yeah, so all that floor is soft from that water getting in there. So that's a whole nother set of problems. Along with this slide has got a broken BAL cable. So we got to replace the cable, but that's all behind that fascia that's got to come apart to get the cable fed through the wall and back in there. So a little bit of work we got going on this one. All right, so we've got this American Coach Class A in here that's got the Aqua Hot 450D diesel. And customer was stating that the diesel side was not working. Now, when we took our test box and hooked it up to that motor, the motor does nothing, doesn't even spin, doesn't make a sound, it's just dead. So we have got a bad motor in there that we're going to change out. The other customer complaint was that the back zone was not producing any heat. The fan would come on inside, but no hot blowing through the register. Now, that's the front zone, this is the rear zone. That pump, and you can see we've got the wires loose right there. We did put 12 volts to that motor, and that pump does nothing. So we've got a bad pump motor there, along with a bad diesel. Wabasto diesel motor is bad in that. So he's got aftermarket warranty. We're going to get it all quoted out. Now, this is what one of these looks like, kind of cracked open, just so you can kind of see, because we were just kind of looking to see what we had going on there. This is the parts one that we've got here at the shop. So you can kind of see what's going on. I've got to get his parts together and then call his aftermarket warranty and see what they're going to do. All right, so now that we've got the Aqua Hot, we've got the motor back in here, and we've got the new water pump in. While we have this apart, we're going to do a fuel pressure test, and you can see the nozzle right there. Now, Brandon's got his test box right here, so he'll get the motor running. Once he gets the motor running, then we can open the fuel solenoid and see what kind of pressure we got. Okay, so we got this Aqua Hot running. It ended up having air in the fuel line. So once we got that cleared out, and it smoked like the devil when we first had it up, because it was loading up with fuel until it got to burning good. But now that we got it running, everything's been running up to temp, so we're gonna let it run overnight and then recheck in the morning. Okay, so a little quick update on this Aqua Hot we've been working on. Yesterday you kind of saw what we were doing with it. It came in with a froze up motor. So we had a motor that we got put in it. We did change the nozzle, did a service on it, didn't verify that that it was ignited and doing what it was doing. Now the customer was staying in this one overnight, and so this morning when we came in, it had actually cut off a few times. Now, you know, we had checked the fuel pressure to make sure that had been working right, but it was running good, and then it would kind of puff some smoke and then stop a little bit. So I did get in there and get to do a little digging through there. It did verify that one of the hose clamps was loose on the fuel line, and we did go ahead. You can kind of see where the fuel filter is right there. We did go ahead and update the fuel filter. This coach has been sitting for a little bit, so the fuel may have been old, but haven't quite nailed down exactly what was causing that. So far it's been running right. I do have a call in to Aqua Hot, so I'm kind of waiting on them to return my phone call. I'm going to pick their brain in just a minute on it, but just kind of a little update on that. So we had a little time this morning to start working on this impact. Now remember, that side had come loose and blown off. We've actually got the material cut. I'm not sure what Lewis has done with it, but he's got his file on laid out here. He's actually got the whole piece. We traced it out, and we're going to get it all glued to this. And once we got that with the red glue glued there, then we're going to go ahead and install it. So I'll kind of show you more as we get into that. Now that we've got that wheel assembly on there with the gear, and I've got the track resolved, you can hear that squeaking noise. Now this thing has not been lubed in forever. So James is now, as we run it, James is going to keep putting the lube to it to make sure we get it lubed correctly, because it's not been lubed in a long time. Let's go in. You may need to go put some on the other side too, James. This thing was really, really bad. It has not been lubed in a long while. So this is kind of what you got to do. You got to run it in and out several times. Make sure we get it all the way in there. Let's go out. Let's go out. Okay, so this BAL cable we thought was broken. When we got to investigating it, it actually had come loose right there and was stuck way up inside there. So we were able to fish that out, which is good. So we're gonna put it back in here. Now, right about here, there's a little black rubber piece that goes in there that keeps that from happening. So at some point, this got loose, fell out, and it sucked the cable back up inside there. So we're gonna be able to fix that by putting the cable back in and readjusting it. Now the other slide, they're gonna go ahead and lube. Now you hear how bad this is. That is a slide that has not been lubed in years. So we're gonna do the same thing we did last time. We're gonna run it multiple times while he gets it lubed out good. And then we'll have a conversation with the customer about, he's gotta be doing this every so often. When you're hearing that squeaking, it's time to lube this slide. So now we're in here with the BAL. Now you can see there's a valance that was right there. Lewis has got the valance out of it. And so now he's just going in here and he's going to get all the cables readjusted on this BAL so that everything's working correctly. So ended up not needing the cables, so that'll be good. We can pass that savings on to the customer. But he just got to go through and get everything adjusted now. A new file on and it's glued and stuck. Now, we use that T channel to tie those corners in. That's the only way we got that to work that way. All right, so back here on day 3 of Aqua Hot Gremlins. We ran this thing all day yesterday. Now remember in the last video I told you I found one of the lines there and there had a little crack in it, and one of the hose clamps was loose. We fixed that, ran all day, no problem. About 4 o'clock, the customer came in there and it had actually cycled out. But when I mean that, the flame had gone away and the light went off in the coach. So the only way to reset that is to cycle the power on the switch. So we let him be for the night. We told him, hey, run it tonight. Let's see what it looks like in the morning. Well, he said it did multiple times overnight. Now remember, this coach has sat for several years. So now you can see Mr. Brandon actually has it hooked to the auxiliary fuel tank that we have, and we're going to run it for several hours now on that and see if that resolves the problem. Because there's a good possibility that the line going back to the coach, and one of the things it talks about in the instructions for troubleshooting is that if it has air bubbles in the line, which if it's sucking air somewhere, that could cause that. So we're going to have to run it on this tank for a few hours just to see. Now, Aqua Hot yesterday, 3 hours, I finally got a call back to get in the queue to try to talk to somebody. When that will be, I have no clue. Could be today, could be tomorrow, have no idea. You know, this is what we struggle with, because again, this customer is staying on my lot. Traveling through, having problems. We're trying to get it done. We're trying to get him out of here. But again, I'm running into a problem. Everything's working. The fan motor's running correctly. We know the fuel solenoid's working correctly. We know that it's seeing the flame. Everything's working by the book. It's just every once in a while we get this little gremlin that pops in and this thing stops running. You know, you can second guess everything you do, but at the end of the day, I feel like it comes back to a fuel situation. Now, I don't deal with them every day. This is something, you know, guys, we just started doing in the last year, and we haven't really seen a lot of these. This is why you want to call Aqua Hot, because surely they've run into this problem at some point down the road. But again, they're probably dealing with the same thing everybody else is dealing with. They're just short-handed, can't get nobody to answer the phone. So you know, it's just trial and error. But again, you know, how do I bill this customer for all my time? How do I bill him for all my, you know, all my hours? You know, education does cost money, and some of this I am gonna, you know, I'm not gonna pass on to him because we are learning. But on the other side of that, you know, this is part of the business. Now, you just heard it stop burning, so it's up to temp, so it's shut down. That's good. That's a normal sign. But again, how do you eat that at the end of the day as a small business? You're just gonna, you know, you can't learn forever. You got to make money at this at some point. So, you know, this is the This is the challenge, you know, it's just what it is. So we're gonna let this run today, see what's going on. If I have an update for you, we're gonna hit on it. We'll show you kind of what we found out. Okay, so a little update on the Aqua Hot. We've had it running all morning on our tank, but now Brandon got up underneath this thing and started kind of tracing back the fuel lines from the Aqua Hot to the tank. One of the lines has actually got a bulge in it, so more than likely we've got air getting in somehow, which is causing that thing to trip in and out. So we're probably just going to send him on his way. I don't do chassis work, and I sure ain't crawling under there to pull no line to that, because I don't know where it's at on that tank, and we just don't do that kind of stuff. So we're going to move on from that. But my problem at the moment is that thing. Been out here moving a few campers, and it don't want to start. And so I've got the load testing on that, and the battery has got a problem. So change that out. That big Brookstone fifth wheel, we had it in here a few minutes ago. That was here for a Forest River warranty. Just had a glass door handle and a latch for a cabinet door. Took Lewis just a couple minutes to fix that. But I do have a Cougar fifth wheel over here that we're getting ready to tear the floor out of. I'll take you down here and show you that here in just a minute. But I got to get these batteries out right quick. O'Reilly's bringing me batteries down, so I got to get those cores out so I can get them. It's got 2 of them in there, so got to get that done right quick. So we'll go over here in a minute and check that out. All right, so we're in here on this Cougar fifth wheel, and surprise, surprise, we got a bad floor. So Mr. Lewis has actually started in on it. Now, initially when the customer brought it in, you can see where this bolt is out of this, but you can see also, look how far, there's the bolt hole right there. But this thing moves this far, almost 3/4 of an inch. When this slide comes in, this thing is moving really bad. So he actually has had somebody go in here and repair that floor at some point. And so the floor has been patched. Well, now we're gonna fix it the right way. So we'll show you as we get into that. All right, so another update on this Aqua Hot. Now you can see where we've got that tank, that remote tank sitting right there. We did run this all day yesterday and overnight on that remote tank. Now, Brandon was up underneath the coach back in there, and there was a couple lines, well, one in particular that had a big bubble in it. So we have run good on that test tank. So the only thing I can say is we got some bad lines between the Aqua Hot and back there to the fuel tank. So that's going to be something the customer's going to have to find somebody that can do, because I just don't do that kind of work. But Brandon's in there this morning. We did overnight that pump that we put in on zone 2 actually quit working. So we're going to get it changed out right quick, and then we're going to button him up and probably send him on his way, because it's a fuel situation. So one other thing I'll kind of share with you guys, you know, kind of interesting, you know, this industry trying to hire people that even want to, you know, one, go to work, two, even have a little bit of knowledge of what we do. And, you know, my mobile service guy, Tori, you know, we were talking about it yesterday, and you know, he made the comment that this is basically just arts and crafts time. You know, anybody can learn to do what we do here. And I interviewed a guy yesterday, tons of experience, showed me pictures of a lot of the work he's been doing, and I mean, I was pretty impressed. So we hired him. I get a phone call 2 hours later, and he says, well, you know, I've been thinking about it, and I don't know if this is probably not my cup of tea. You know, we kind of laughed about that, you know, didn't even give it a chance. You know, there's a lot of things we do here, and I'm sure it scares a lot of people. But like Tori says, it's arts and crafts time. You know, we get in here, we figure it out. If we can't figure it out, we call somebody that knows, that's worked on it. So, you know, I got a couple young guys, and, you know, I'm like, guys, get into this. You learn this. There's a lot of skills you're going to learn that you're going to be able to take with you the rest of your life. So, you know, just kind of funny that, you know, 2 hours later, you hire one and Didn't even last 2 hours. So, you know, this is the challenge. I've got 2 more coming in this week for interviews. I've actually got a staffing service that I've been talking to. You know, I spent hundreds of dollars trying to hire people, and you know, this is the problem in small business. Mike Rowe just talked about this. You know, 7 million abled men in the job market that don't want to work. You know, and what we do ain't nothing special, but all these things that we do here are skills that somebody could use the rest of their lives. So I don't know. It's just the battle we fight as a small business, and you guys are seeing it firsthand. I mean, this is what we deal with. Got a little refrigerator in here, DRM 702 that came in, and I'll show you kind of what's going on with it. So let's go in here and check that out. Now this is on a little Springdale by Keystone bumper pull camper. Now DRM 702 is the European style Dometic was building for a while, but customer brought this in and wasn't sure why it wasn't cooling. Well, if you look right there, that's all the yellow sodium chromate that they put in here to keep them from rusting when they build them. And what's happened is that boiler assembly has ruptured, and all the hydrogen, all the ammonia, all the water's gone out of this. So obviously this cooling unit was built in 2017. So we got a new Pines, or a rebuilt Pines unit ready to go in this. So Cousin Gary will be working on that here next. So this is the beauty about having a shop and not where we were at, because it has come big time rain. So it's nice when we got a shop we can work inside. We've been very blessed with that. So as you can see, he's got the metal glue down. There's the corner pieces. We'll have all that sealed. Water won't be able to get in that. Now you're gonna ask me why I didn't go all the way to the end. Well, part of the problem is my brake press won't bend that whole length piece. So the reason we did this, and I'll show you this, because this typically does not go all, you know, when the room goes out, it may stop right here. But the problem on this one is we got those pucks. Now that's for the table. The only thing I was concerned about was if this ever got loose, it could pull this material up. So we put that in just for those pucks right there. So that way, when it does slide in and out, it's gonna go over this. But this will never be outside the camper. It stops about right there. So this is always gonna be inside. But yeah, he's got his corner pieces bent, and he's gonna get all that put in there, and they'll get this finished up next week while I'm gone. Well, you can kind of see where Lewis is at with that Cougar right there, getting that floor pretty much done. Now this big Winnebago right here is in for it's got a mess load of parts that have got to be worked on it. But I won't be here next week for them to work on. Jan and I are going to be off to the NTP show out in Colorado next week. So we'll be gone Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So they're going to be up here working without me. So they'll get into that. I don't know how much video I'll get of next week. I'm going to get some of the show while we're there, but that's just the way it goes. So hope everybody has a great weekend, and remember, this video is Cousin Gary approved. Take care.